Week 10 hits the books. Here we are, 10 weeks into the season. Week 9, a lot happened. I think the theme right now is power through. Looking at this Week 10 slate just ahead of us starting to record, Cole, not pretty.
You don't think this past week was pretty?
No, Week 10, the week coming up, the matchups aren't pretty.
I heard you say that on Sunday, and I completely disagree. I think there's a lot of matchups that aren't like rivalries, so they don't pop out at you, but you're looking at some matchups that I don't know. You so far the last 9 weeks you have called your best and sneakiest matchups to a T. The way you've called games to pan out, you've kind of predicted how they'll turn out to be better than I have. Although
But you lead me in pick 6 now.
and in locks and upsets.
Yeah.
So, but besides that, I mean, it's it's fucking NFL football. It's a week
My
to week.
analysis has been good. My picks have been bad, but I also go a little ballsy with some of my picks. Um, Quick housekeeping. Do you want to do any power rankings? What you saw this past week when we watched NFL football?
So what did we say last week is our top three?
My
Remind
top
me.
three. So my top three was different from yours. I did a week to week basis power rankings. I think my top three of AFC was Baltimore, Baltimore, Jacksonville, and Cincinnati. NFC was Philly, Seattle, and Dallas. My top three for this week coming out of week 9, AFC, I'm going to stick with Baltimore on top. They look great. Fearful for my Browns. 2, Jacksonville was on bye. Do they lose a spot? Kansas City didn't do great against the Dolphins, but it's still a good win, especially in Germany. I think I'll shoot Jackson. I'll keep it Baltimore, Jacksonville, Cincinnati, because Cincinnati beat the Bills. NFC, I'll go Philly. Good win against Dallas, even though Dallas was probably should have won that game. Seattle gets blown out by Baltimore. Oof. Kind of take a nosedive. I'll move the Lions up, and I'll move the 49ers back up. Both on bye, both successful buys. Lions just, looking good, still getting healthier. And then the 49ers, divisional rival, catches a loss, evens the odds.
So you have Ravens in the AFC, you have the Chiefs, and then
No, I kept it the same. Ravens, Jacksonville, Cincinnati, or
okay,
Baltimore, Jacksonville, Cincinnati. Then I
okay,
have Philly, Detroit, San Francisco.
okay. Yeah, I think I had Chiefs as my number one, and that's based off of Pat Mahomes. But again, last week I was thinking playoffs, but yeah, I would say Ravens, Chiefs, and I'm gonna move the Bengals in there because obviously the Bills just got ousted by them, which was my third pick. So I'll go Ravens, Chiefs, and Bengals in the AFC, and then NFC Eagles, and then honestly, it's gonna be Eagles, Niners, and Cowboys is my third, and taking there's no way I'd put the Lions over the Cowboys in the playoffs right now.
Yeah, I think there's just like a big gap between the Eagles and then that second power ranked team. I think honestly, if like the second strongest team in the NFC could potentially just be the Cowboys
Which is why didn't you have the Cowboys on the top three?
because they took that loss, and then also I think if you're going to win a bye week, San Francisco won that bye week. Brock Purdy now healthy, Trent Williams healthy, Debo now healthy, and Seattle takes a loss. I think you chalk that up as a win during a bye week if you're San Fran.
Well, but all right, first down, week 9, Thursday night football, your very own Pittsburgh Steelers and the Tennessee Titans. Steelers. Hey, I thought Will Levis looked like a starting quarterback in the NFL.
100%, and he earned himself the starting job. Mike Vrabel announces, I think it was either yesterday or today, Mike Vrabel announces that Will Levis will be the starter going forward. Ryan Tannehill hits the bench.
It seemed like every single time that the Steelers were just going to pull away and the Titans were going to be in a 3rd and long. Like you'd get a penalty on the Titans, they'd fall back 1st and 20, 2nd and 20. And Will Levis under pressure would just have like a fadeaway, hit his check down and get 10 yards and then keep it alive and then make like a crazy kind of wide open play down the field. Steelers defensive secondary kind of wasn't helping out the defensive pass rush. And it seemed like Highsmith, TJ Watt get to the quarterback. And if the quarterback can get rid of it and buy some time, that secondary without Minkah Fitzpatrick is just like susceptible to anything.
Yeah, that was like a big thing that Minkah didn't play in that game. I'm not sure if the game was on Sunday, would he have played? But I saw exactly what you're saying. The Pittsburgh pass rush was milliseconds away from sacking Will Levis. He stuck his nose and kept his nose in the pocket, didn't shy away from these big hits, took some big hits, and then delivered some good balls. And exactly what you said, the Pittsburgh secondary let up some big plays, wide open receivers, and Will Levis found them. He kept Tennessee in the game. Pittsburgh's offense, though, I said it. I've been saying it. That is their downside. Like they have the 3rd worst offense, but one of the best defenses in the league. They kind of even though they won, the defense still kind of bailed them out.
Yeah. We'll see. They play the renowned Green Bay Packers in Acrisure Stadium week 10. So that's the game of the week.
And then they have at Browns, at Bengals.
Yeah, so they'll have a win and then they'll get 2 losses. So we'll see
I'm not counting. Never count that as a win for the Browns.
We'll get a 6-5 team in the Patriot or fucking Steelers. Jesus. All right, next one. We have Dolphins Chiefs. Seemed like the Chiefs are just their defense is what's making them, one of the best teams in the NFL this year. They're incredibly I want to say in man coverage, they have by 20 percentage points for quarterback passer rating. They are like 20 points lower than any other team in the NFL right now at when they play man coverage, which that's all Spagnuolo does with the defense in Kansas City.
I've loved Steve Spagnuolo for a long time in my football fandom. He was the defensive coordinator for the New York Giants back in 2007 when they upset the Patriots for that undefeated season. He was the defensive coordinator all the way back then. He's a defensive guru. It's incredible to me that he tried being a head coach, and I think that's why he's never going to shy away again, and he'll just stay under Andy Reid or with a good offensive-minded head coach. But you're exactly right again. Kansas City has evolved into being more of this illustrious defense than the pretty offense, and I think what we'll end up seeing towards the end of the season is the offense will shape itself more and more, and then we'll see Kansas City become more of this Super Bowl juggernaut that they've been down the last couple of years, and the offense will round itself into form, not like the defense the last couple of years where they had to put it together in order to become a Super Bowl favorite. It's the offense that'll now do it, and they have the elite defense.
Yeah, it's like you gotta going back to the matchup. Dolphins are just not. They're not there yet. You keep on mentioning that stat of 700 days. They've had one win against a winning team, and that was 400 days ago. So I don't buy it as much as you and a lot of the critics do. I still think the Dolphins are a really good team, but it's something to look out for when we're ranking these teams and we're comparing them and how they're going to compete in the playoffs against other really good defenses and really good offenses. But
I think they're a good team, but I just don't think we can take them as seriously as the Dolphins want us to until we see them upset a Bills in Buffalo, upset a Kansas City, whether it be home or away, upset Baltimore,
yeah,
beat a Cincinnati. I mean, you could throw maybe even a Pittsburgh in there because I would believe that if the Miami Dolphins matched up against the Pittsburgh Steelers today, the Miami Dolphins would have trouble moving the ball against that defense, and it would be, could the Pittsburgh Steelers put up any points?
yeah. The so yeah, that game final score 21-14.
Yes.
Dolphins had a chance to just tie it right at the end, and
Mhm.
then that was the last two plays, third and fourth down, where he just played like shit. So
He missed a wide open wide receiver. I don't know what happened there. Um, to call it
yeah,
a choke, that's the best way I can put it, is a choke, unless Tua comes out and says ball slipped out of my hand or something. Like,
yeah. But okay, the next game, Packers at Rams in Lambeau Field. Packers were 3-point favorites, 20-3
yep.
victory. Jordan Love over Brett Ripien, kind of a premier matchup of QBs. This was, in my mind, a couple things that stood out was our offense looked better than the scoreboard showed. And that was frustrating in the first half because we continued to move the ball throughout the entire game for the first time. And we had those 2 4th-and-1s with the offsides where our right guard, John Runyon, was not offsides. And they show it. The NFL officials tried to say that this was a point of emphasis going into the season, and that John Runyon's helmet broke the plane of the ball, which it in fact didn't. So, I mean, there's like footage of it, and it's just frustrating that like people are trying to crack down on the Philly special, and not the Philly special, but the fucking touche push.
The tush push.
And I like to call it the touche push, but the touch push, the touche push, the touji puji, whatever you want to call it, they fucking want to hit it on it. And you see how offensive linemen and defensive linemen scrum. It's a rugby scrum. And as long as you're on your side of the ball, it infuriated me that ruined 2 drives that I honestly thought were going to be at least points on the board.
That
And then we
ruined
had
two drives. You had
those two
the
fumbles.
2 fumbles, and then the
Yeah.
kicker misses a field goal.
Yeah, so I mean, I'm happy with our offense. People are still like down on Jordan Love after that game, even though he had over a 70% completion percentage. And to me, I think he missed one throw and
In a
had some
rainy,
really good throws.
snowy Lambeau.
Yeah, so it's frustrating, but I'm still bullish. I still think the Packers have a very if they have to beat the Steelers, but I think they can go 6-3 and make the playoffs as the 7th seed. So they gotta go 6 wins, 3 losses. They still gotta play the Chiefs. They still gotta play the Lions. They still gotta play the Chargers. They gotta play the Bucks. But
You have a tough 4 games right here: at Steelers, home against the Chargers, at Detroit, home against the Chiefs. That's a tough road for you right now.
and then those last 5 games are very winnable.
The
Even
last
with
5 are very winnable: at Giants, home against the Buccaneers, at Panthers, at Vikings, home against the Bears.
yeah. So I mean, I still have faith. I know the Packers lose very winnable games, so not a lot of reason for faith, but I'll hold out for it. That's all I got on that game.
Yeah, and it sucked that Matthew Stafford didn't play, but it was fortunate for the Packers and their continuous adventure to hopefully get to that 7th seed, that elusive 7th seed that seems like no team is gonna take the stride and try to get it. But I like the direction that the Packers went. They, for your sake, looked a lot better on offense, looked more competent, scored points in the first half. Kudos. Rams defense kept them in there as long as they could, but having Brett Ripien in there short week, not even short week, but short notice that he's going to start. Now, Carson Wentz, signed by the Rams, is he So is Matthew Stafford out long term now? And Carson Wentz going to be the starter. And we mentioned it while we were watching the games together. The loser in all this is Stetson Bennett, not being with the Rams and having an opportunity to shine here while Matthew Stafford's hurt.
Yeah.
I wish we could have saw that, since we live in Georgia and have watched the Dogs the last few seasons. But let's go into our next game.
Yeah, our next game, Ravens, Seahawks in Baltimore, 37-3. Seahawks get their third loss. Ravens go on to 7-2. Just was a kind of a dominating victory. The Gus Edwards and Keaton Mitchell duo that you want to call, Keaton Mitchell hasn't played because he's been on IR. He comes back. He's an undrafted free agent. He's got 2 explosive over 40-yard runs. Gus Edwards is back to himself. Lamar Jackson has got an offensive receiving core, so you're happy with how they can score, and then their defense is also playing above expectations from what they played last season. Seahawks, I had a lot bigger expectation in this game, and I thought this was going to be a very close game, and had the Seahawks +6, but you win some, you lose some.
Yeah, not great, not a great pick, but I give you credit where credit's due. Seahawks, I thought were going to give a much better fight. I guess the Ravens defense is a lot better, and I've watched this defense a few times this season. They are a good defense. I think the Ravens right now look like the most complete team in the NFL, offense and defensive side of the ball. Lamar Jackson looking like an MVP type candidate. He's got weapons now. The new offense coordinator and Todd Monken is spreading the ball around, and they have a run game with Gus Edwards and Keaton Mitchell, like you said. Seahawks, Geno Smith, now he's turning the ball over. Was last year a fluke? Is it an outlier in his career? A lot of questions on the board now for that. Seahawks fans, some calling for Drew Lock to start. I don't know if that's going to be the answer. But to brighten the side for Seahawks fans, even though you just got your butt kicked against the Ravens, you have the Commanders at home this week, and then you play at the Rams before you play the 49ers. You have 2 games that you can kind of get it back on track, get the offense flowing, and then you play your division rival, most likely for first place.
Okay. Yeah. I mean, that's an interesting take. The Cardinals at Browns. This was not even a game. I just kept on looking over at the score, and it was a lot to a little. I mean, your defense is, you might say suspect, but I think they're going to show up more and more in the games where it matters, and then that's when you can hold your hat on that your team has a defense. Deshaun Watson played good football from what the stat sheet says. And I mean, I'll let you take this one.
You're saying that because he hit a defender in the helmet with a ball, and it ended up being a touchdown this time instead of an interception.
And I think there's who was it they threw to? That was the Amari Cooper. He had a really good throw to Amari Cooper.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so couldn't have been a better ball.
Watson looked good for sitting out the last few weeks with an injury. That's a bright spot. Like, I was happy with that.
Yeah.
Obviously, there's some things that they can clean up on offense. They're going to have to play a very good game this coming week against the Ravens. I was happy with the output. That's exactly what you wanted, playing a very inferior opponent with a rookie quarterback that wasn't from a big school. Clayton Tune really put pressure on him, had 7 sacks in the game, 3 takeaways. Offense didn't turn over the ball. Like to see that. That's a complete game out of the Browns. If the Browns defense can get turnovers and sacks, and then our offense doesn't turn over the ball, that's a good, we'll probably beat anybody if that's how the game plays out.
Yeah. I mean, do you think your team's a playoff team this year, 8 weeks in?
I think they are a playoff team. It's just hard right now because There are a lot of good teams in the AFC, and a loss here and a loss there will really dampen your season. Like I think this week is a huge week for the Browns. Their entire division is over 500. If the playoffs started today, the entire division of the AFC North would be in the playoffs for the AFC. That's you can't lose those division games, and we've already lost two. So that already puts us on the cusp of getting knocked out very quickly. Then you have the whole Miami and Buffalo situation going on in the AFC East. Who knows if Aaron Rodgers comes back for the Jets? Like, I don't think there's a lot of room for error in the AFC right now. And the
I would say,
Texans continue to win.
and not only that, but like the Chargers are playing really good football recently. So you're looking at teams that are just like 4-4 Chargers, 4-4 Texans, 4-4 Jets. All of a sudden, the Browns lose. They fall to 5-4. Like let's say they lose against the Ravens this week.
Yeah.
You're right back in it with those teams that win, and then you're in like that 7 seed conversation. But I think if you guys win in Baltimore this week, that completely flips the division.
I think this game determines a lot. It like we could move on, or I talk about it during the game analysis. Whatever you want to do. Move on, and I'll touch it then.
Let's do it the game analysis.
All right.
Yeah.
Well, I'll leave it. I'll leave it for right now. But I'm out of the 1 o'clock games. I think that like preview forward, that sneaky matchup right there.
Yeah. Okay, next one we got Bucks at Texans. As we discussed, CJ Stroud, 470 yards passing. Right when you thought that the Buccaneers drove down the field, won the game. What did they have, like less than a minute? And CJ Stroud just marches him right down the field, scores a touchdown. Yeah, he looks like the real deal. I'm not ready to say he's like he's a looks like everything a piece of a franchise quarterback, but there's no way you're going to tell me that he's not like people are going to tell me he's a top 5 or 10 quarterback already in the NFL. Like give him a full season. I like what the Texans are this season, and they can get their defense a little better. And I know they have had some injuries, but Buccaneers are kind of faltering. That's one thing I've taken away from this too is one week they can't score points, but they can play good defense. The other week it's like they can score, but where the hell did their defense go? Yeah, so it's tough. The Texans couldn't even run the ball in this game, and they were one-dimensional, and they came out in the second half and just got everything they wanted.
Yeah, CJ Stroud throws for over 450 yards, 5 touchdowns. Holy moly. Dude looks elite. I'm not going to say like other people have been saying this week because we aren't allowed to listen to the news now because we record on Wednesdays that CJ Stroud is top 5 quarterback. No, CJ Stroud is still a rookie. He's just looking very good and looks like the player that the Texans desperately needed to fill that quarterback role for them. He's got a good matchup that we can determine where he stands as a quarterback this week because he plays at Cincinnati. That's a tough one. Bucks are going to buck. I don't know. I think as a Packers fan, you should be very happy with the state of the Buccaneers right now as you look towards getting that 7th seed and then have a matchup with them later on in the season.
Yeah. Bears at Saints. -8.5. Didn't cover. Kind of thought the Bears were going to have a chance in the first quarter, first half. Taysom Hill's on a streak. That might be, hey, that guy's got the fucking juice. Picked him up on my fantasy team as a tight end. That's the biggest bullshit.
I played him last week. Passing touchdown and a receiving touchdown.
Yeah, honestly, a ridiculous like the guys gets like he has 11 carries, 52 yards. He's got receiving yards. He's got throwing yards. Like the guy is a cheat code in fantasy, and it pisses me off. Um, I found him on the waiver wire. I'm like, I'm gonna take this guy. But anyways, it's Derek Carr's found some efficiency. Uh, I would say right now you would put the Saints as the favorite to win that division, and then
Here's probably why they're definitely the favorite. Let me read off their schedule. At Vikings, they're playing Josh Dobbs. Josh Dobbs just got there. Josh Dobbs had a miracle week last week. Don't expect that to happen again. Then they have their bye. They then go to Atlanta, playing Taylor Heineke. They just lost to Josh Dobbs. Then they play the Lions. Might take a loss there. Panthers, Giants, Rams, Buccaneers, Falcons.
yeah,
Think about
I
those
just
quarterbacks right there. Rookie Bryce Young, Tommy DeVito, Carson Wentz / Brett
no,
Rypien,
no,
Baker
Matthew
Mayfield.
Stafford. Matthew Stafford's not out the whole fucking season for a sprained thumb.
Who knows?
No, I also don't think the Saints are like the most confident they're gonna win games against bad teams. They're gonna have some struggles too.
I
But
think we're losing confidence in their teams in their division, though, the Buccaneers and the Falcons, and there's almost no hope for the Panthers.
yeah, no, I agree. Saints should be favorites of the division. Uh, just gotta root for the Buccaneers and Falcons to lose if you're a
And
Packers
and
fan.
and the Saints should have had way more points in this game. The Bears had 5 turnovers.
Yeah, well, guess what? A win's a win. They didn't cover. Vegas should be mad.
I want to throw an idea to you real quick. So the Bears have the Panthers pick and they have their own pick that are both very high because of those two records. The Giants, we haven't got to their game yet, but the Giants are almost they're definitely out of the race for the playoffs this year. And Daniel Jones now has an ACL injury. If I was the Giants, and you know that the Bears are probably going to go away from Justin Fields, if I was the Giants, would I offer a trade for Justin Fields and then use my first round draft pick on something else to pad around Justin Fields? Because you could buy low for Justin Fields right now if you're the New York Giants.
So then what do you do with
Cut him.
Daniel Jones?
You only have to pay the guaranteed money that you get
That's a
is
lot of
guaranteed.
guaranteed money.
It,
It's got over 90 million guaranteed.
just a thought.
Well, okay. So now you're looking at I don't think the Giants are going to go all out just to get Justin
No,
Fields. And I think they'd rather start from scratch with a Caleb Williams if they can. And then I don't think the Bears are so down on Justin Fields either.
I think they are.
I think they'll let him play out his season as that's his job application for 2024. But besides that, next game, Vikings, Falcons, Josh Dobbs, all of a sudden he's playing for the Cardinals and now he's playing for the Vikings. One man's trash is another man's treasure. 31-28, comeback win. Like that, as much as I'm not a fan of the Vikings, that was a cool story. To see not knowing the names of the players, never doing a snap under center with Garrett Bradbury. But it's like I don't like both teams in that. So either one team losing was a victory for the Packers in that situation. And we get another chance to play the Vikings. And I know I'm just talking in a perception of a Packers fan these last couple of matchups, but that's how I look at it. But yeah, I think the Vikings are still, you're looking at Josh Dobbs, and I think they're going to win football games with him. They have a talented roster. Back when they were, was it 1-4? Yeah, back when they were 1-4, I was saying I don't think the Vikings are done, and you agreed with me. And they've gone on a 4-game win streak, and they look like that team that's prime for a 7 seed. And I don't know how dangerous they'll be in the playoffs, but they have a lot of talent on offense, and then their defense under Brian Flores looks like
coming
they're able
together.
to make plays in big moments. Yeah.
And news out of today is the Vikings are getting their star back. Justin Jefferson return. It's destined to return this week, most likely. Activated off of IR, practicing again. Good sign for the Vikings. Good sign for them to build off of this win against the Falcons, which was a miraculous win. Jaron Hall gets a concussion. Josh Dobbs doesn't know the playbook, asking people for what their name is, and plays his butt off. Looked insane. Falcons, Arthur Smith. Yeah, that seat might be getting a little warm for Arthur. Doesn't use Kyle Pitts, doesn't use Bijan Robinson. Like, these are your studs that you drafted pretty high, both at number 4, I'm pretty sure, overall, and you're not utilizing them. Very odd, especially because like he was the Tennessee coach, had a Derrick Henry, or Tennessee offensive coordinator, had a Derrick Henry, now has a stud running back in Bijan. I don't know, man. That seat might be getting a little bit warmer. Vikings, your outlook is pretty good. Keep winning games. We'll see what happens.
Yeah. Next matchup, Commanders Patriots. Commanders 20, Patriots 17. Another one that was like I thought when that Ramondre Stevenson hit that big one in the third quarter, was it? Let me just verify.
Yeah, he hit a
Yeah. Yeah,
big
third
run.
quarter, that 64-yard run. I thought that was like, hey, the Patriots are going to win this game. I just was confident in Foxborough, Bill Belichick against that team. But, you know, Commanders are one of those teams too where, yeah, they're 4-5. That's in play. So I don't think I was just thinking Montez Sweat, Chase Young, they're gone from the team. You're looking at, they're rebuilding for next year, but Commanders, again, they still have a talented offense and their defense has pieces. We'll see how well they play against, big teams. But again, it's the NFL. Any team can beat any team. And Commanders have proven that they can play against, football teams that are better than the Patriots and still make it close and win. Patriots are, yeah, they're pretty much a lost cause for this season. This about did it for them, and now they can, go on to the Boston Celtics if you're a Boston fan.
Yeah. Now, rumors about Bill Belichick being the coach in 2024 are starting to swirl. Very odd. Kind of never thought you'd see the day if you were not a Patriots fan of Bill will be here until he retires. It would be very odd to see Bill Belichick coaching for a different team next year if that actually ends up happening. Commanders fans have to be pretty pumped. I think they got their guy in Sam Howell. It's kind of a shame that they didn't pull the trigger on him last year to see more games to see what he had, and then like develop him a little bit more up to NFL game speed. Because I think maybe these other games that they lost earlier in the year maybe swing their way if Sam Howell's a little bit more experienced of the NFL game speed. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Commanders, you don't have a very easy schedule going down the stretch because you do have to play the Cowboys 2 more times. You have the 49ers on your down the road and the Dolphins. Kind of tough, but then you do have winnable games with the Giants, Rams, maybe the Jets. Not sure about that one. Patriots, outlook looks bleak, man. That you're in a tough division. I've talked about how good the AFC is this year. That's an uphill battle to climb. Might as well just pull the plug on Mac Jones because he does not look like the guy. And maybe sign Josh McDaniels back and get your offense back to what it was with Tom Brady because it ain't what it should be.
Yeah. No doubt. Lots of people crying in Massachusetts. All right. This game was like kind of frustrating trying to watch this one and root for the Panthers, but Colts, Panthers in Charlotte, 27-13 Indianapolis. This was 2 plays away from being a Panthers win. And yeah, obviously like the 2 pick sixes from Kenny Moore. But looking at yardage, like Colts offense was pretty much like ineffective the entire game against the Panthers defense. And then like, okay, Bryce Young, you can say like the exception of like if you don't turn the ball over, but those were 2 incredibly like terrible situation interceptions where he's at midfield or past midfield on drives and 2 just errant throws and bad decisions. It's tough because I still think he's going to be a good quarterback. And the more contrast that happens between him and CJ Stroud, it's just probably more pressure on him than he wants to see at week 9 in his rookie season. But I don't
Just
think
looks
anyone
so
thought
small too.
yeah, and I don't think anyone thought the Panthers were going to be a playoff team this year. But you look at their offensive pieces and you still see things that are needed. They need a big receiver. I think if they're going to have, what do they have, a top first round pick again this year? Or did they trade
No,
their?
the Bears have it.
That's right. Okay. Fuck me. So they'd be the perfect if they, still had a first pick, get Marvin Harrison, but that's not happening. So
No. And they don't
free agent,
have assets to trade away. Like, I don't know if you want to trade away like a second round pick to try and get a wide receiver, like a
well,
George
maybe
Pickens who's frustrated in Pittsburgh.
I think they probably should trade like a fifth and try to get Chase Claypool and just, take the man from his like third team.
So,
But
yeah, Panthers. Yeah, if you're a Panthers fan, you're kicking yourself watching CJ Stroud tear it up. I don't think any Panthers fan was thinking maybe playoffs this year. I don't think that was a thing. I think they would see a team like the Colts on their schedule and maybe be like, oh, we could probably get a win there.
yeah,
Not expecting their quarterback to throw 2 pick sixes, which are the decider in this game. Colts, hey, man, you're going to win some of these games. You're going to lose some of these games. Gardner Minshew is going to keep you in games, and I don't know what to expect if you're a Colts fan. I really would be kicking myself if we're winning without Anthony Richardson, thinking maybe we should be trying to get a better draft pick so we can protect Anthony Richardson, build up our offensive line, maybe get another weapon outside of Michael Pittman. I don't know. That's just how I would think of it as a outside perspective, or maybe get a stud defensive player out of this draft. No idea. That's just how I see it as a Colts fan, because you don't want to like get into those like teen picks. You want to like have the high, pretty pick. I know you could, find a gold mine in those later picks, like a Justin Jefferson, but doesn't always happen.
next game, Giants Raiders in Las Vegas. Antonio Pierce's first game as head coach against his former team that he played for. The Jesse Helms, he provided a crazy stat that I told you about where the Raiders or not the Raiders, but teams that fire their head coach midseason, that interim head coach, it's like 24-4 in the last 28 games played. And that really motivated me to pick the Raiders as well for one of my bets. And I mean, that game was what was it? It was 24. Let me check. I'm pretty sure it was like 24-0.
That was
Yeah.
30 to
Yeah.
6.
Yeah. Well, no, but it was when I was last time when I turned it off, it was 24-0.
Mm-hmm.
And that's last I looked at the game. But yeah, Aiden O'Connell looks like a prototype of like prototypical game manager as a rookie QB. Josh Jacobs gets involved and their run game, probably the best they've had all season. Uh, yeah, like you mentioned with the Tommy DeVito and his incredible talent. Not a lot of faith in that team with Brian Dable after a playoff season last year, and I think they're one of those teams where they're not very young either. So you're looking at probably a team that's going to be just torn apart next season and
Yeah,
starting from 1-0.
I think you tear it down if you're the Giants. You have a piece, here and there with Barkley, maybe keep Barkley. You
No,
have a piece maybe with Kayvon Thibodeau on defense,
yeah.
Dexter Lawrence, those guys. You have pieces there. I think you would keep Barkley though. You want a playmaker,
You got to get, he's going
especially
to
if you're
make,
especially if you're going to draft a rookie quarterback. You're going to want a playmaker.
yeah, for 4 million. Get Jamal Williams from the Saints or something. Don't get a $12 million running back that's going to get 12 guys in the box on defense that are just going to key in on the run. I agree to disagree. I just think there's no point in paying top dollar for a franchise running back when your team is going to get 3-4 wins next season. Like,
I guess I don't know. I would I I still think that you might want a running back that does make it so that they load the box against you, make it easier to pass for a rookie. Raiders, that's an incredible win for you. Antonio Pierce first game, and you get the videos of them in the locker room celebrating. It looks like a tyrant was fired out of there in Josh McDaniels. This team looks more free. They're playing with fun and inspired football. Their running game looked good. Max Crosby looked good again. And they made a Giants defense look not great. That the last 2 weeks they looked really good. Aiden O'Connell, you said it, game manager. Sucks that Daniel Jones tore his ACL, but it wasn't looking good before that for the Giants.
yeah. Last 4 p.m. slate game. Cowboys at Eagles. Eagles 3-point favorites. They cover and 28-3 or 28-23. I was kind of pulling for Dallas in this game, just because I felt like they wanted it on the road. I don't think people gave them a shot, and like Dak Prescott kind of had one of his. Yeah, if he can build on this and keep his rhythm, because I think he's a rhythmic quarterback, and once he's in he's a streaky guy, so he gets in a hot stretch, and if he can keep this rolling, that offense again, like they have pieces. Jake Ferguson is now like as a tight end, you look at him and you're content. CD Lamb, you wish you had a couple other receivers other than Brandon Cooks, Noah Brown, and Michael Gallup, but I mean, their run game's kind of not where it needs to be, and their defense is just allowing them to have a shot at any football game they want to have. And now the Eagles are 8-1, best record in the NFL. Pretty much everyone expected that, and they haven't won pretty most of the season, but it's not about September through November. It's about December and January. So
Eagles 8-1. Kudos to you. If you're an Eagles fan, you got to be pumped, but you got to be a little bit nervous about that secondary. That secondary got torched by CeeDee Lamb and company and Dak Prescott. Cowboys fans got to be upset that they were inside the 10-yard line 3 separate times and came away with no points. That's kind of the determining factor in this game. Eagles fans got to be upset that maybe you didn't put more points on the board. But that is a tough Dallas defense. Eagles now get the bye, get a chance to get healthy, get guys in their secondary who have been out back, which should light a fire under your butt. Unfortunately, you hear about the Nakobe Dean injury today, Liz Frank injury. He's going to go on IR, so your signal caller on defense is now out for 4 weeks. Cowboys, you got a game against the Giants, game against the Panthers, game against the Commanders before you have another tough matchup with the Seahawks in 4 weeks. Got 3 games in a row that you can really put a shellacking on these teams and come into form. Cowboys might be looking up from here on out because my opinion, they probably should have won, like you said.
Yeah. Um, Sunday Night Football, Bills at Bengals in Cincinnati. This was kind of like Josh Allen, if he's not perfect, the Bills struggle. I don't know if the problem you would have with him is their offense as much as like their defense was frustrating. I know they have a ton of injuries, but they couldn't get up the field on third down.
Nope.
Joe Burrow and that offense, they're back. It just seems like they're going to continue to snowball effect into January to be where they left off. But it's what, like, what's their record when they play each other? I want to say the Bengals are it's like 3-1, Joe Burrow versus Josh Allen. Uh,
It's something like that. The Bengals are like starting to become the owners of the Bills, and that's a scary thought if you're a Bills fan. Josh Allen doesn't play a perfect game, end up ends up costing the Bills. Got to be a little bit pissed off if you're a Bills fan because you only put up 18 points. It seemed like they could easily have put up more. They kind of got back into this game, and then obviously time runs out. But you got to start faster, man. The Bengals smothered them. Bengals defense 2 weeks in a row now, playing the 49ers, now the Bills, two top teams in either conference, and they've really put the brakes on them. Joe Burrow is looking like Joe Burrow again, another 300 yards passing. I think what I'm curious about after this with the Bengals moving forward is Jamar Chase has this injury with his back now. Obviously, the Bengals have already had their bye week. They had an early bye week, which helped them out with Joe Burrow's injury. But now Jamar Chase, your star wide receiver, is a little banged up. And you got some tough games coming up.
yeah,
Texans, Ravens, Steelers, Jaguars. Probably not the best games that you want your star wide receiver to be hurt. Bengals, they're probably going to keep grooving. Bills, two lighter games coming up, but not the lightest. Broncos, Jets. Then you're at the Eagles. Finally, your
yeah,
bye week comes, and then you're at the Chiefs.
yeah. I see them going 10-7, looking up their schedule. Just it could be a flip on that last week against the Dolphins, but I think they win the next 2 weeks. They probably lose the Eagles, lose Chiefs. I have them losing against the Cowboys, and then
Three
I think
wins
you
in a row.
hit it 3 wins in a row. But I mean, that's 10-7 is the playoffs in my mind. Uh,
I would say like if they have some injuries that on their defense that can come back, and then Von Miller actually starts to be Von Miller again, which I don't know after in his 30s ACL tear. I don't know, man. Bills have some question marks.
then we got Monday Night Football, Chargers, Jets in MetLife, 27-6. Char defense really showed out. Derwin James, Khalil Mack, everybody looks like
Joe Bosa.
when they have Joey Bosa, Khalil Mack, Derwin James making plays, Kenneth Murray, like their star players, that's exactly what you want. Chargers have a really good roster. I think everyone knows that they have pieces everywhere. Uh,
It's just if those pieces can come together, which we've seen time and time again, that they can come together for a game like this and then they fall back apart. We
yeah,
think we build them up. They get a game against the Jets, who the Jets are notorious right now for having a bad offensive line. No shit. Khalil Mack and Joey Bosa are going to go off. And they have
yeah,
a
and
backup quarterback in. No shit. They're going to fucking have these guys go off. I am very excited for this Chargers Lions matchup. I will say that one. Jets, that sucks. You got a lot of fumbles, like Garrett Wilson fumbled, like turnovers. Zach Wilson looked bad, not a game manager, like I was saying last week. But you got to be pretty pumped. Aaron Rodgers is throwing 50-yard bombs before the game.
yeah,
He's the ghost that's lurking around.
he's America's man. All right, so that's first down. The easy down. the best down, second down before we make your money, right? Not third or fourth. Panthers at Bears. Bears 4-point favorites at home Thursday night football. The worst matchup in NFL season 2023. It's going to be Tyson Bagent again because they're going to rest Justin Fields one more week, I think. Uh, yeah, whatever. This game is just, it's like, doesn't mean anything for the Panthers. Just win.
Yeah, and it
And
doesn't mean anything for the Bears. It actually kind of hurts the Bears in two ways because if the Panthers win, moves that pick down. If the Bears win, it moves that pick down. Bears are losers in both ways here. The
yeah,
Bears fans hate that this game is on the schedule. I guess if you're trying to get up and actually watch this game, this probably will be the least tuned in game this season. And Thursday night football has had some stinkers in the past, and this might be the worst stinker. I don't know what the NFL was thinking with this matchup, but sucks that Justin Fields isn't playing. I guess watch it for Bryce Young and
yeah.
hope that he can put it
It's the,
together as a rookie a little bit.
it's the DJ Moore Bowl.
It's
But
the DJ Moore
anyways,
Bowl.
all right, next game, Germany, 9 a.m., Colts at Patriots. Kind of another stinker. Maybe 10 years ago, that would be a great matchup with Peyton Manning, and not even 10 years ago. That's like 11 years ago now.
Starting to
Peyton
go way
Manning.
back. Well,
Yeah,
I
Peyton
mean,
Manning, Tom
you
Brady.
could say the Andrew Luck years were still pretty good, but the Patriots
Yeah,
owned them when Andrew Luck was the quarterback.
yeah. So, I mean, Patriots are 2-point underdogs. I don't know. I think Bill Belichick and Germany just goes well together. So I don't know if
What do you think?
I
He's a
love that
Nazi?
one. Just I feel like he'd do well in Germany.
Like
Nothing to do with
if
Nazis.
he just lived there, I could see it. He looks like a German. We've been over there before. I would say he fits in with the aesthetic of what Germans look like.
Yeah, no, I agree.
Um,
What do you got?
not much to get up for in this game either. Gardner Minshew versus Mac Jones, two teams that probably won't make the playoffs. Would be way more fun if Anthony Richardson was playing and if the Patriots offense had any sort of a heartbeat. I guess Ramondre Stevenson is kind of putting that together with that big run last week, but you saw it once and didn't see it again if you were a Patriots fan.
Yeah,
Another game that probably won't have a lot of people tuning in.
the definitely agree. Texans at Bengals. First game of the 1 p.m. slate. Bengals 7-point favorites at home. This is a good matchup to me. I know we're talking, you think week 10, bunch of, I'll just, every time I say good, this was one of those matchups where I think it'll be a good game. Yeah, it could get out of hand. Bengals might be just a better quality team than the Texans, and the Texans have been playing lesser teams than the Bengals have recently, but both teams can score. And if the Texans can make some plays on defense and keep themselves in this game, it could be a close one in the fourth quarter.
I'm interested in this one as well. I'm interested in seeing CJ Stroud go against a bit of a better defense in the Bengals, a playoff caliber team in the Bengals. I'm curious as to the 7-point spread, where that came from. I guess it's just rookie quarterback on the road against a Super Bowl caliber team. I hope that CJ Stroud can make this more than a 7-point spread game. I'd be on the edge of my seat if I see that the Texans knocking out the Bengals like with a game-winning kick with their what was it? A running back was kicking the extra points.
Yeah, Dario Ngumwale, the
Yeah,
former Wisconsin Badger. But yeah, it'll be hoping for a close one because we need it. But all right, next game, 1 p.m. slate. Packers at Steelers in Pittsburgh. Steelers are 3-point favorites. This one's gonna be, to me, I really like this game because it's a pivotal matchup, whether you believe it or not, for the NFC for the Packers. It's kind of in my mind, it's another playoff game. And in the AFC, at 5-3, you can consider that as like a playoff game because you fall to 5-4 playing in the AFC North. I don't know how many more division games they have left. I think there are three more. And then you're looking at whoever else they have in the AFC. That's a tough slate. I don't think there's any teams in the AFC you're like, oh, they got an easy go. But Steelers are also, I think they're not as good as their record says. And I'm not saying they're a bad team now. I think they're probably more 4-4 team right now than a 5-3. I don't really know if I think they're going to be 9-8 area as at best at the end of the year. But yeah, we'll see. I think this game is going to come down to can the Packers stop the pass rush of the Steelers? We've let Max Crosby ruin a game. We've let Aiden Hutchinson ruin a game. TJ Watt's better than both of those players. And they also have Alex Highsmith, on the fucking right end. And if Minka Fitzpatrick comes back, which he's questionable, it's going to be tough in Pittsburgh. But
And you got Cameron Hayward coming back too.
I'll give our team a chance against any team this season. That includes the Chiefs in December, but it's going to be a hard one.
That's a tough matchup for the Packers, but I think you guys took a step forward last week against the Rams. Probably an inferior opponent with Brett Rypien playing. Steelers are maybe a step up from that. I mean, they did beat the Rams head-to-head as well. I think the interesting matchup is probably your offense, not your offense, your defense against their offense, because their offense is bad. Their offense doesn't move the ball well. I think if you guys can limit the run game with Najee and Jalen Warren, you will win this game. If the Green Bay Packers can limit those two rushing the ball, you guys can win this game. And
Yeah.
Anders, whatever your kicker's name, Anders, whatever, needs to not miss field goals. Just saying.
Yeah, and when he does make them, he needs to not make them by the skin of his teeth. And just right at the shred of the fucking post. But
I will agree with you that this is an interesting matchup. It is not
two
because of
legendary
you.
franchises.
It's just two teams that, like, are they good or are they not good? Are they actually a playoff team? Are they actually a playoff team?
Yeah. Okay, Titans at Buccaneers in Tampa, 1.5-point favorites.
The Buccaneers?
Buccaneers are 1.5-point favorites. In Tampa, this is kind of a toss-up. I think it's probably likening to the fact that both are kind of inconsistent. I want to stay away from this game.
I like that line for the Titans.
See, I could say the same thing, and I'm like, I like that line for the Buccaneers. If they're
I mean, like, I've been on the Bucs a lot this year. I've been like, hey, Baker Mayfield, but Baker Mayfield is probably cooled off and is showing who he was when he was on the Browns the last season he was there. But I'm excited for Will Levis, and I think that Will Levis took a nice step forward in that Steelers game, hanging in the pocket, taking big hits, converting big long third downs, and having a chance at the end twice to win that game. And I think Mike Vrabel will always have that defense ready to play. I would look for the Titans to win this game. Big time.
Okay. All right. Put it in your picks. All right. We got Browns at Ravens. Ravens 6-point favorites in Baltimore. Go ahead.
Ravens 6-point favorites. If the Browns could win this game, and I'm not saying they will, I'm saying that if they win, this is a huge step forward in the Kevin Stefanski era, knocking off that opponent that always beats you, especially in Baltimore. The Browns, I believe, since they've come back, have like maybe 5 wins in Baltimore. Playing them every season there, that's bad. Yeah, no, I'm pretty sure it's 5 wins in Baltimore. It's bad. And I can remember 2 of them. Anyways, if the Browns can win in Baltimore, I'm thinking division is ours. If we lose this game, the best outcome for a Brown season is wild card, and it's probably the 7th seed, which means we would have to play the Chiefs or the Baltimore Ravens, which sucks. Ravens are a really good football team. Their defense is very good. Lamar Jackson is playing at an MVP caliber. It's going to be tough to slow him down. I think we have a defense that can slow him down. In the last game when we played them, Dorian Thompson-Robinson was the starting quarterback. He turned the ball over a lot, made that field short for the Ravens, made it easier for them to score. Our defense got gassed because they were on the field just so much because our offense couldn't convert on third down or even move the ball slightly. I don't think that's the outcome in this game. I think Deshaun Watson will change that a bit. Protect the ball and win third down. That's how you win this game.
Deal. All right. I would say similar. I think this is a pivotal game, more so for the Browns and the Ravens. The Ravens can afford to lose this game. I don't know if it's going to affect the Browns can still make the playoffs, but you look at them and they go to 6-3 and they get this win on the road against probably the number one team in the NFL right now, maybe besides the Eagles, but I'd pick the Ravens. If the Ravens and Eagles are going into a matchup, I think the Ravens might be favored. But yeah, it's a tough game. That's another matchup where I think it's a good game. So you said I got Texans Bengals. I think that's a good matchup. I think Packers Steelers, that's a good matchup. I think Titans Buccaneers, I think that's a good matchup. Browns Ravens, good matchup. And then next game, 49ers at Jaguars in Jacksonville. Jaguars are 3-point underdogs. Niners coming off the bye. Another game, which I think this is probably like the game of the week, but just it looks like the 1 p.m. slate has a ton of good games.
The 1 p.m. slate does. No good primetime games, and the NFL changed their flex rules for this season, and none of these great 1 p.m. games that we are going through right now were flexed out for Broncos, Bills, or Giants, Cowboys. Is that the 4 p.m. game that's supposed to be good?
So I'll say this.
Oh, and then in the Sunday night game, Jets, Raiders.
Oh shit! What's crazy is some of these are changing as we speak.
But 49ers, Jags, I'm excited for this game as well. I mentioned it earlier. The 49ers, if you're going to win a bye week, you won your bye week. Seahawks lost. Brock Purdy's now healthy. You got a week to regroup as an offense. Trent Williams is coming back. Deebo Samuel's coming back. You got a week to regroup on defense. You add Chase Young from Washington. A lot of people in Washington are saying Chase Young wasn't that great. Yada, yada, yada. But you put him on the same defensive line as Nick Bosa, where he's not a guy that's going to, get the double team or whatever like that. I know he probably wasn't getting that in Washington because of Montez Sweat, but still, you put him on a stud defensive line, Chase Young might shine. I think this is a great matchup for the Jaguars to really cement themselves as one of the better teams in the AFC. They did beat the Bills earlier this year. Now we're questioning what the Bills are actually. They had a good game against the Chiefs earlier in the season. They lost pretty largely in the scoreboard, but they had every opportunity in that game to win or go up or make it a closer game. I think this is a great opportunity for the Jags to really cement themselves, and it's a really good opportunity for the 49ers to get back on track to what they're ultimately seeking as well.
Yeah. No, I agree. Big game for both teams. More importantly for the Niners in my mind, but
I think
yeah.
so.
Brock Purdy, what are you? Saints at Vikings. Last 1 p.m. game. Vikings 2.5 point underdogs in Minneapolis. Saints kind of rolling right now. Vikings, I like kind of what they have going. They're on a 4 game win streak, even though they faced the adversity with Kirk Cousins. So I don't know if they're going to get Justin Jefferson back. I know he's designated to return for practice, but I think it might probably be another week from what my fantasy shit tells me. But no, I don't know. This game's also a toss up. I like that. I like if I'm a Vikings fan that you're at home, and I would just never be super keen on Derek Carr and
And
the
Dennis
Saints.
Allen.
Yeah, like there's just Saints they'll fluctuate as far as how well and bad they can play in any given week. But the Vikings, they're kind of rolling on that 4 game win streak, as I said. So kind of like the Vikings in this one.
Yeah, interesting matchup with Josh Dobbs now. Vikings probably would have been favored if Kirk was still the quarterback. Saints are that weird team. You saw them, absolutely demolish the Patriots earlier in the season, have a weird game against the Texans where they lost, and then bad first half against the Jaguars, come back, make it a game, still lose. 2 wins in a row now with the beating the Colts and the Bears. Who are the Saints really? That's my question. I do think that you make a good point that the Vikings, that's a tasty matchup for them.
Yeah. Falcons at Cardinals, first 4 p.m. game. Looks like a terrible matchup. You got a 4-5 team versus a 1-8 team, but Falcons fighting for their playoff wild card and division hopes. And Kyler Murray's back. So that makes it a game. I think Kyler Murray, what is he? You
What's the
expect
line?
1.5 points underdogs for the Arizona Cardinals at home. Uh, I don't know. You look at that and you could say Kyler Murray's gonna light the team on fire. I don't know if I expect the Cardinals to right away just start clicking with Kyler. So maybe it's a closer game because of it, but I like the Falcons. I think they, rebound, their defense gets involved and doesn't choke the game away. And maybe Arthur Smith puts the offense, in the right hands with Kyle Pitts and Bijan Robinson.
Yeah, that's interesting. Let's see what Arthur Pitts has got in his bag.
Arthur Pitts.
I said Arthur Smith.
You said Arthur Pitts.
I'm pretty all right. All right. I don't know. Let's see what Arthur Smith has in his bag of tricks. Can he get the ball to Pitts? Can he get the ball to Bijan Robinson? Who knows? I'm not sold on the Falcons. I like how Kyler Murray's coming back. This kind of makes it a little bit more interesting. But all in all, it is a 4-5 team and a 1-8 team. Not the matchup I'm licking my chops over, is what I'll say.
It's going to be good football.
I I hope it's good football.
Next game, another good football game. Chargers at home against the Lions. Lions are 3-point favorites on the road. This is probably like the 4 p.m. Well, it's definitely the 4 p.m. Maybe, yeah, it's the 4 p.m. game slate because the Chargers are rolling. They've had 2 dominant victories. Lions are the Lions. They've had a dominant season. What's Jared Goff's kryptonite? Pass rush. What can the Chargers do? Get to the quarterback. So what are we going to see here? I expect the Lions to run the ball down their throat. I expect LA to be a Detroit home game. And this could be one of those games where the Chargers really cement themselves as a playoff contender, or it could be quite the opposite, where they fall out of the race and they are now, the middling Chargers of the last 2 decades. But that's what I got.
Yeah, I mean, I understand your point of who are the Chargers? Are they a playoff contender, or are they the team that falls just short always? We always build them up to be one of these teams that can knock off the Chiefs in the AFC West, and they never seem to do it. We think that Justin Herbert is an elite quarterback. He's a top 5 quarterback. We'd rather have him than Lamar Jackson. Some people say I would much rather have Lamar Jackson. I'm interested to see how Justin Herbert handles the Detroit defense. Aiden Hutchinson getting in his face. The Detroit defense has been very good this year. I know they got banged up against the Ravens, but after seeing the Ravens beat up the Seahawks, the Ravens might be juggernauts. Interesting matchup. Interesting matchup. Nonetheless, probably the best 4 o'clock game. Now looking at the other two.
We go into the next game. We have Giants at Dallas. 16-point favorites for the Cowboys. Was 16.5 this morning, so got a lot of lines on the Giants must have been to take it down half a point. But anyways, this is going to be just whatever the fuck of a game. If they keep it within one score, it's going to be a miracle. But that's what I got. I don't care about this game at all.
Tommy DeVito, Syracuse legend. What do you got going against one of the best defenses? I don't know, man. I don't really care about this game either. Cowboys should roll them. Cowboys should really roll them. They rolled them in week 1 when everybody was like, this is the time for the Giants to reclaim the NFC East and be the Giants of the past. Nah, man, I'm pretty sure the Cowboys still own your ass right now, and they're going to continue to own your ass until you figure out who's going to play quarterback.
Yeah. Commanders, Seahawks in Seattle. Seattle are 6.5-point favorites. To me, this is a better matchup than maybe what the paper says. I think the Commanders are a team that can play anyone close, especially a Seahawks team coming off a 34-point loss. So kind of an interesting game and storyline because Seattle, you're looking at them and, they were 1 week ago looking to be possibly, the NFC West champs. And now after a 34-point loss, what do they have in them to, prevent anything like that happening again? Is this like a one-off game they had? And then the Commanders, they have talent. So Sam Howell, can he go in on the road in a tough place to play and, score points? And I don't know, could be a good game.
Could be a good game. Real determining factor of what does Sam Howell got in him? What kind of dog does Sam Howell have in him? You're facing definitely a better opponent in the Seahawks. Can the Commanders knock off a team that's probably looked at as one of the top tier teams in the NFC? Seahawks, can Geno Smith right the ship, stop his turnover habits, get the offense back on track? Because it hasn't looked great. And he didn't really look that great against the Browns either. Seahawks, if I'm a Seahawks fan, I would want to win this game by way more than 6.
Yeah. Got Sunday Night Football, Jets at Raiders. You say it's a bad game. I say this is, again, it's just you got to put your mentality in there of the fan base that's watching that game. This is a do or die game for both teams. Jets are still on their, hey, we have a miracle pipe. It's not a pipe dream still. If they win this game, like they're still in that contention to be right where they want to be come mid-December when they can potentially get Aaron Rodgers back. So I think Aaron Rodgers is kind of hinted at, hey, Christmas Eve or 28th December, the Thursday Night Football game. You're looking at those two games as like his comeback week. But the Jets, if they go to 4-5, I mean, you're not really as excited as a 5-4. So like this is a big game against a winnable team. or a beatable team, I should say. Raiders, they're 4-5. They still think, they have a talented team, and I do think the Raiders are better than people give them credit for. They have star power, uh, quarterback. That's what they're missing. Is Garoppolo gone for a while?
No, he's fine. I'm pretty sure they're just rolling with AOC.
Yeah. So I mean, we'll see if Aiden O'Connell can spread the ball out. They have a really good receiving core, like really good receiving core. I think
Yeah.
their
And
running
Michael
back.
Mayer's a good tight end.
Yeah, and I mean they have two good tight ends. Who's their other one? Not Moreau. Fucking
I
whatever.
can't
I'm
think of his
besides
name.
myself. Anyways, they have a talented roster, so I think that's a good game. It's like win or go home. It's like a playoff game in week 10.
What's the spread?
It's Raiders are plus half a point. It was plus 1.5 this morning when I wrote these down, but I just changed it. So
So I like the script that you just came up with for the Jets. That does make this game a little bit more intriguing to watch because the Jets, if they start to falter any point in this season and start to become a losing team, are trying to fight back to become 500 and fight back into that playoff picture, the thought of Aaron Rodgers returning this season is gone. There's no way that he returns if the team is 6-9 at the end of the season. There's no point for him to return if the best you can do is 8-9. You have to float in this 500 zone, I guess, for this period of time if you want to see Aaron Rodgers return and have the last couple of games of your season become very important. Raiders, I want to see a stat. You could just text it to me later. What's the win percentage or win loss of an interim head coach in their second week
Mhm.
as a head coach? Because I do like your point of that's why you took the Raiders last week as a bet. But I feel like in the past, seeing interim head coaches, I've seen like that spark hit when they like the initial head coach gets fired and everybody's like fired up and they're like ready to go.
Jeff
But then that
Saturday.
second week, Jeff Saturday gets a win. I'm thinking of also like Greg Williams in the
And
past with
then
the
and then Jeff Saturday
Browns.
gets a
Like,
33-point halftime win against the Vikings and then loses it. But yeah.
yeah, I'm thinking of like I'm trying to think of more interim head coaches of recent memory of winning their first game and then absolutely throwing up a dud in the second game. So I'm interested to see if there's a stat there. I guess the Raiders, yeah, they're trying to turn around their season. I just still don't think that they have the juice, as we like to say, at quarterback to carry them into being a playoff contender. But I guess the overall theme, if we're gonna keep watching the Jets in these primetime games, is they need to make it interesting towards the end of the season if Aaron Rodgers is going to play or not.
Yeah. Monday Night Football. Broncos on the road in Buffalo. Bills are 7.5-point favorites. Blue blood battle right now. Incredible game. I will say this. This is a better game than were the Broncos on bye last week? Let's see.
Yes.
Yeah, so I mean, all of a sudden the Broncos they're on a 2-game win streak. Am I wrong? Yeah, they are. So they're feeling better about themselves than people think. You know, inside that building, the Broncos like themselves a little bit. They're going in with some swagger into Buffalo against a team that's kind of fig fuck they are. Are they a Super Bowl contender or are they a fucking bubble team? So I mean, we'll see. This game, I'm not trying to hype it up, but 7.5 points is a lot.
I think that the Bills will look at the fact that if the season ended today, they wouldn't be in the playoffs and the Miami Dolphins would win their division. I think they're going to take that as ammo into this game. And I don't know if they'll put it all together, but I think they're going to come out angry and I'm going to say an inferior opponent in the Broncos, maybe throttle them. I don't know about 7.5. Maybe we'll look at 7, but Broncos, I do understand your point of maybe they're turning the tide of what's going on in that locker room, maybe buying more into Sean Payton, Russell Wilson. Maybe he's not as bad as we all think type of deal. I do
Yeah,
like Javonte Williams too.
good running back. You ran all over the Packers. Okay, so that concludes second down. Third down, quick review of our locks and upsets. So on the season now, I had the Saints as a lock over the Bears. You had the Falcons as a lock over the Vikings.
Oof.
So I get that lock, you lose that lock. And then upsets, I had the Rams over the Packers. That definitely didn't happen. And then you had the Jets over the Chargers. Fortunately, that did not happen. So that puts me at 8-1 on locks and 4-5 on upsets for the season. You fall to 4-5 on locks and 5-4 on upsets.
Yeah,
And
I
for
was
the
riding
viewers,
high on those upsets, and now I'm sucking.
I know. So for any clowns that are listening to this podcast, just to clarify, this is not the spread. This is money line. Who do we think is going to win a football game? So honestly, I think Kyle's getting bold with his picks, and that's why he's 4-5 on just picking. But it is the show.
I
It's
did
a
get
week to week.
really bold with the Jets last 2 weeks.
It's a week to week league.
Yeah.
And I mean, mainly for locks, not the upsets. You had the Jets as an upset, but for locks, those are like where it's like you've got to think you're going to be because you're just picking money line on these. So some of
Mhm.
these matchups, but it just shows it's a week to week league in the NFL. So with that, I'm going to be quick. My lock, I had the Cowboys.
Taking it with you.
Oh,
Taking it
oh,
with you. I
okay.
was like, what team is going to win this week? I was like, Tommy DeVito, baby.
And I will jump in front of a street if they lose.
Please,
Raiders.
please don't hold yourself to that.
Yeah, I know I won't. Raiders are my upset. I think that they show themselves against the Jets, but
Raiders are the upset that he's going with. I'm going with the Titans. Titans are my pick over the Buccaneers.
okay, it's a good pick. All right, fourth down. Best matchup, I have the 49er. Well, let's review. Last week's best matchup, I had Bills Bengals. Yeah, I give it a B minus, C plus. Your best matchup, Eagles Cowboys, definitely the game of the week. So I would say for you, I think that was kudos. Sneakiest matchup, I have Chargers Jets. That was not a good matchup at all.
Ugh, nope.
You had Titans Steelers was a good matchup. I thought that the Titans made that a game, and Will Levis made that game fun.
Titans are like a team. Like I kind of like it when like these quarterbacks that sit for the first couple weeks and then like something happens to them. Something happens to the starter and then the rookie comes in. That always draws my interest into them. That's kind of like why I'm like, ooh, Titans are kind of fun to watch now with Will Levis.
yeah, and this week I got best matchup 49ers Jaguars. I think that's just going to be a close game. Has a lot of meaning for both teams, both conferences, honestly. But and then my sneakiest matchup, I have Packers Steelers. I think that game
Ooh,
has a lot of implications. Just kind of like on the lower side of the playoff aspiration hopes. 49ers Jaguars, they're kind of like the blue bloods, and then we're kind of the scroungers, but it's okay.
so for best matchup, I'm gonna take this Chargers Lions game. I think that these are two teams that really want to be in the playoffs. Obviously, everybody wants to play in the playoffs, but Lions are fighting for the division, trying to cement themselves as probably one of the top tier teams in the NFC. Chargers are trying to cement themselves as one of those teams that should be looked at in the AFC to be feared. We always do this thing with the Chargers up and down, up and down. Hopefully that they can put it together. I think this could be a really interesting game. I think two teams that are on the same tier as each other. I think that could end up being a really good game and probably will be the most viewed 4 o'clock game. For my sneakiest matchup, I'm going to take the Texans Bengals. I like watching CJ Stroud. He is a draw. He is something to watch this season, how he develops as a rookie, what he can do for this Houston organization, where he can bring them to. Like the sky's the limit for you guys right now. You got to be looking up, thinking like a couple years down the road, a couple pieces here and there, we could really be looking at something. Bengals are rounding themselves back into form as a Super Bowl caliber team. Two teams that are performing very well, clashing at each other. I don't really like the 7-point spread.
With that being said, we'll get into our pick six. Going into last week, we were both 26 and 22. And I went 3-3. Kyle went 1-5. Tough blows.
Whoa,
And
how'd I go 1-5? I went 3-3.
you had the Steelers -2.5.
They covered.
Steelers -2.5.
The
Rams
bucket
plus
the
Rams plus
Rams
3.
didn't cover.
So 1-1.
The Buccaneers I took them at +3. They covered.
Oh, fuck me. Okay.
And then I had the other win I had was the Colts beat the Panthers by 14. They covered.
Oh, fuck me. Okay. Hold on. Shit, so are we tied, man?
Yes, we both went 3-3. You idiot.
All right, anyways. Fuck, okay.
Anyways,
Cole's also 3-3. But we should probably check my math. Anyways.
he's 26. We were both 26 and 22. We both are now 29 and 25.
Yes. All right. So, anyways, my 6 picks. I'll go for down the line if you want to go.
No, we go 1-for-1.
Yeah. So let me just make sure I do them in order again so we can call them out at the same time. All right. I'm ready.
Yeah,
I have Panthers. I have Panthers plus 3.5 points. So the spread
Panthers
changed. So it's 3.5.
while we were recording. So you're gonna take
No.
the new spread.
Well, it was from the morning to this evening, but yeah.
Okay.
Panthers plus 3.5.
I'm probably gonna be out of order. I'm gonna be probably jumping around a little bit here. Because I don't know. I've liked a couple things and I don't like a couple things. I'm taking 100%. I'm taking this one though. Titans plus 1.5.
Okay. All right, I got Falcons -1.5.
I have Falcons -1.5 as well.
I have Steelers -3.5.
Going against your team. Why do that to yourself?
Because that's the only time it works.
I've been going against the Chargers every week. So I'm going to go with the Chargers this week. I'm going to take Chargers +3.
And I believe, yeah, it is still +3. So I have the Lions +3 on that game.
Ooh, +3. +3 Chargers, -3
I got the
Lions for you. Hang on. I got to get my pick in. I'll take the Texans +7.
and that game is still +7, yeah. And then I'll take the Browns +6.
And I won't touch that game with a 10-foot pole. I'll take the 49ers -3.
I also have the 49ers -3.
That's your last pick. So I have one more. Give me the Saints -2.5.
I like that pick. Okay.
Do you? You're on the Vikings, though. You're the Vikings guy.
Yeah, but if you're gonna go 2.5, make sure that's the bet. Yeah, that is. Or the spread. Oh my God. All right. Well, that was honestly, if I didn't convince you that week 10's a better matchup slate than you thought, hopefully I did. That's my concluding thoughts. Get ready for a great week of NFL football, also college football, and fucking fall asleep as soon as you can tomorrow night for Panthers Bears.
Who's got the juice of the week? So last week I had CeeDee Lamb. You had AJ Brown. CeeDee Lamb had the better week. AJ Brown didn't. CeeDee Lamb went off a bit. Who's got the juice for me this week? Who's got the juice? I'm going to take a lesser-known guy, and it's a team that not a lesser-known guy, but he plays on a team that we've kind of been shitting on this episode. It's Adam Thielen of the Carolina Panthers. Adam Thielen has had 3 games this season with 11 receptions, has 6 games of over 7 receptions. Dude is a target monster for the Carolina Panthers and has been Bryce Young's favorite receiver this season. Adam Thielen, he's got the juice this season. He's feeling it. Reborn in Carolina, used to be a Minnesota Viking. He's got the juice.
You already mentioned him. CJ Stroud, 470 yards, 5 touchdown passes, breaking rookie records. Already cemented himself as the NFC or NFL Offensive Player of the Year. So that's my guy.
You mean Rookie of the Year?
Rookie Offensive Player of the Year.
Okay. For the AFC?
Hey, Offensive Player of the Year.
Okay. Yeah. Bears, Panthers tomorrow. Probably a snoozer. I hope everybody set their clocks back. I was a week early on telling you that you needed to set your clocks back. I'm sorry about that. Don't hate me. But week 10, here we go. Saddle up. Put it in cruise control, folks. This NFL season, it's fun to watch. It's probably not a sitcom, it's a drama. It's a drama. But we'll see you